Hi, everybody. Hey, it's Mr. Forster again. Hey, I just wanted to give you kind of an update on to chapter 13. Let me get my glasses right here somewhere. Okay, maybe if I tilt it up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so let me share my screen. There we go. Chapter 3. So chapter 3, here we go. What do we got? We got managing files and directories. You know, this is going to be the chapter that's going to be most like your Windows part of the book and stuff, because this is going to get you to, like, in Windows, you went to CMD, and in here, you're going to go to the terminal. And the terminal area is where you're going to do all the command line interface commands, okay, throughout the book, okay? And so that's kind of the overview of the process. Now, because it's, again, an introductory book, managing files and directories, you need to kind of understand, well, what is a file? What is a folder, right? And then what are directories or subdirectories or folders or subfolders and file systems and so on. So you should expect some descriptions like this, just an overall introductory, assuming a person never had the first 9 weeks of the class and they just came to this book from scratch, okay? And that you may have a Windows system, which you guys understand the Windows system a bit, your Windows, your system 32, whatever, you know, your DLL folders and so on, your user folders and so on. Well, here is your Linux system basically and stuff, okay? Oh, wait, okay, home, library, whatever, right? So this is an example of the Windows ones, which would have been nice if they'd actually used the operating system, much like they used here, but go figure, okay? But here's the Linux directory system. Again, you know, you're gonna be looking at etc, which could be things that'll include like drives or whatever, okay? Bins, development, home folder, that's gonna be where your users are at, and then various libraries where you would find YAST and so on the command line structure, okay? So again, here's a brief description. This chapter goes probably at length. This one table probably gives you, in a nutshell, the various primary folders. Okay, so again, the dev folder for devices. I think that's what I said. Yeah, dev. Your bin folders and stuff. Your boot folders. Home is a real big one for you. Okay, kind of thing. Mounting for drives. Mounting just basically means that, you know, you're running a driver for like a CD-ROM or something like that. You know, we take that for granted that when we turn the computer on, that the CD-ROM drive automatically has been loaded and driver has been loaded. Well, you know, in the Linux world, you can mount and unmount, okay? Well, you can do it in the Windows too, we just don't do it very often, okay? Much like what you think of somehow with USBs, but not exactly the same. In this case, it actually loads little drivers and stuff. Okay, so this way it goes on, and so that table then breaks down to the various commands. So like here's an example for, you know, well, changing directories. Well, first thing we need to know is, what is PWD? Well, PWD of its way to say, I want to show you the working directory. So that's a command, PWD, okay? And the answer for this one would be like Dustin under home. I'm sitting at the Dustin user level under the home folder off the root directory. Remember, these are forward slashes because we're talking about Unix/Linux, not Microsoft, okay? If that's our system prompt here, see like here with the greater than sign, doesn't that look a little bit like the system prompt that you have in Windows? Slightly different, okay, but pretty close. And then you gave the PWD command, it would echo this back with the, what is the current working directory, okay? And then we have things like, I wonder what CD/bin looks like. I mean, what does that do? Oh, wait. CD/bin would be change directory to the bin folder. Well, remember, in Linux, it's forward slashes, not backward slashes. So CD/ would go into the bin folder, okay? Now, be very careful about relative and absolute in here. I know that you want to have a tendency to take shortcuts, you know, in Dustin and home, you know, but you might want to be, when you're starting off, you're being very explicit with absolute references. So if you want to go to the Dustin folder, you would want to make sure you do a CD/home/Dustin and not just kind of skip around until you get really used to the relative commands. Okay. All right. So if we come down here, okay, we got paths, so that's not a problem. Change directories, 1 dot, 2 dots, they work basically the same. Talked about different bash shells and stuff, so we talked about that in earlier chapters. Okay, the ls command is the view command, basically, or the listing command. Sorry, listing. Much like what dir. Matter of fact, in the humor of the Linux people, they included dir in a lot of shells out there, so you could use it the same way, just for those die-hard Windows people, okay? But ls has been around forever because it's a Unix command, and you're gonna find this pretty much in every terminal shell that's out there, okay? And that's one of the things, remember, I told you I chose this book. This chapter in particular, almost all of these commands are going to be found in every Linux distro that you come across, okay? So ls-l, whatever, is going to give me my listings with a switch. So dash before some kind of character, ls-l, -a, whatever, it's going to be, you know, this kind of listing or AL, so on. Just much like you did with Microsoft. Here's an example of the list options, right? So in Microsoft, you would have had what, dir /w, right? Or dir /o for order, d by date, od, order date, okay? Here you're going to have something like ls-a L, right, which would be A would include all the file listings, including the hidden files, and L would be to the long format. Okay, so you'd have ls space dash AL. Okay, and so again, you get the kind of the feel as you go through it. It's not complicated. You know, when you look at a file structure here and stuff, here's the basic layout of a typical file structure that you would see in a directory listing. You know, a file type, whether or not you're part of a user, a group, and others, whatever, hard links and stuff, which are probably not all that relevant to you right now, but maybe later down the road if you become more of the power user. The owner of the group, the user's group, the file size, the date and time, and then the file name itself. Okay, so when you look at this, you know, layout and process, it's pretty easy. You know, ls. There's also internal helps. Just like there was in Microsoft. And so you have things like manuals, okay? And so you can use mans, or you can use their versions of, like here, man space ls, and that would give you some help on the ls command, or man space pwd, or if you didn't know what cd was, man space cd, right? Kind of stuff. So those are very specific internal help processes that are out there, okay? All right, so let's see. You know, the last, I'm going to kind of scroll down here. Look, wildcards again. Hey, look, asterisk, question marks. Yeah, they're all the same. Why? Because Unix got there first. Not a problem. It's all the same. Okay, so the wildcards are going to work the same way. Okay. Let's see, managing make directory, mkdir as opposed to md. So you're gonna have to make sure some of these, you have to remember, you know, what they are here in Linux and not confuse yourself with Windows. Okay, so that's the challenge there. Okay, that sometimes you'll sit there and say, well, I know what it is in Windows. What is it in Linux? It's, and then you have to think about it for a bit and stuff, and hopefully you'll be able to come up with it or look it up. Okay, and then it'll start to sink in. Okay, you know, removing directories, deleting files, you know, making directories, remove files, moving files, renaming, copying here, you know, again, you know, the idea of moving a file or copying a file really is as simple as CP for copy, old file name, new file location. Okay, or MV for move and then file, new location. Okay, so some of these go really, really easily as you're kind of going through. Okay, let's see, the hard links we'll talk about there. So let me jump here towards the end, because I think there's a bit, just a base summary here. So in this chapter, right, you're gonna, you know, get to the terminal. Right, you know, you're going to learn about kind of the directory structure for Linux and the hierarchy of that, whatever. You're going to learn about files versus folders, again, kind of a rehash a little bit. The pwd command, right? The recognizing that / is now the root directory, not backslash at the initial, and we use / as dividers. You're going to have the list command, right, like dir. You're going to have things like wildcards that are out there, all right, asterisks and question marks, okay? mkdir, remove, move, okay, you know, an ln command and stuff, and then super user and so on. This is just the starting point, because you're going to start experiment when you get into other chapters, like when you get into, I think it's chapter 6 or 7, chapter 6, maybe, whatever, we get into quotas, and then we get into chapter 7, I think we get into groups, right? And we can do a lot of that stuff from the terminal. And so we can use terminal commands like these to make groups, to add users, to remove users, to delete groups, to add quotas, to change quotas. We can do all that from the command line interface. And then again, much like Windows, we can do it from the GUI, as if we were to go into control panel. Only in Linux, you would go into the YAST graphical interface, right? The yet another setup tool. Okay. Anyway, so I hope this kind of helps. It gives you kind of just an overview of what's going to be in the chapter. Again, I put some videos together in your weekly email. Hopefully that will help as well. So let me stop sharing here, and I'll end the recording, and you guys have a great day.